When I finished watching episode 11 of Wonder Egg Priority, I was left staring at my screen with every orifice of my face wide open. And 5 minutes later, I broke my internal silence and was like, damn, this next episode's gonna be nuts. And wow, look at that, it's also the last episode. So I marked it down on my internal calendar and waited for the promised day. Even then, I still didn't watch it when it came out. I just didn't want the show to end. That, and I was procrastinating on my sakuga video of it. About 5 days later, I finally sit myself down, I pull up Funimation's poorly coded Android app, and watch the absolute banger of a last episode. No, literally, I was banging my head against the wall with how anticlimactic it was. Now, I won't spoil anything for those who haven't watched the series, but I was pretty underwhelmed at the time. Like, what about that whole thing with Frill? What's this parallel universe thing they brought up? Did their friends come back to life or not? What is this disjointed relationship that the girls are having right now? Are we ever going to resolve that? So many questions and no answers. So much so that I was positive there must have been some sort of mistake. There has to be a 13th episode. Luckily, as it turned out, there was one more episode that hasn't come out yet, and I was so relieved for about 5 seconds, because then I found out the episodes weren't coming out next week. No, it's coming out at the end of June. Okay, hysteric dramatization aside, this is why I think you shouldn't watch this series if you haven't already started. Not because it's a bad show, no, it's a fantastic show, and it's beautiful to look at. But if you do start now, you'll join the thousands of other people that are left on pause for the final episode for the next 3 months. Unless you're watching this video 3 months from now. This isn't like Attack on Titan. People can read ahead for that show. No, this show is an original by Studio Cloverworks, and it's the one show that they actually did a good job of making this season. It covers some pretty heavy topics that I won't talk too much about here, but it's told rather fantastically. By all accounts, when the last episode comes out 3 months from now, you really should watch this show. Like Skate the Infinity, it's the second sleeper hit from last season. By the way, check out my Skate Infinity Sakuga video if you haven't already. It's another original anime from the legendary Studio Bones. But speaking of Studio Bones, I was reminded of an older show of theirs called Kekai Sensen, or Blood Blockade Battlefront, that went through a similar situation that Wonder Egg is going through right now. Now, I watched this show after all the episodes had already come out, but as it turns out, the last episode, episode 12 in this case, was also delayed 3 months due to scheduling issues, because the episode was too long to fit into the TV time slot. And while this may be true for at least Kekai Sensen, personally I believe both of these shows fell behind for what could reasonably be produced within the time given. Now, I'm not going to get into the ethics of Japanese work life because that's a whole can of worms I'd rather leave closed for now, but for these really high production shows like Kekai Sensen and Wonder Egg, it's not hard to tell that the animators were having a hard time reaching their deadlines. Now, this is mainly speculation, mind you, but it's not entirely unfounded. Watching some documentaries on anime production really sheds light on some of the problems that the anime industry in general has. The true facts for why these things happen may never entirely come to light, but despite all of that, you can tell that there is a dedication towards the quality of these products. Hell, when the last episode of Kekai Sensen Season 1 came out, not only was it a sakuga thrill ride, but it was also 48 minutes long. Not many companies delay their series and risk losing more money to make a better conclusion to a show. Yes, I know they didn't plot their time out correctly, but god damn, have you seen this show? This is some movie-grade material here. In my opinion, this looks even better than their most recent Sakuga Fest show, Fate Grand Order. And if you haven't seen that, you should do yourself a favor and watch it. If not for the story, then for the Sakuga alone. While Wonder Egg Priority isn't as thrilling as that show, it is more consistent in its animation quality down to the most simplistic scenes. Just look at that shading. Damn. I also like how this show has this really clean look to it, but it's also not afraid to give us these creepypasta vibes, similar to some of the stuff you'd see in the Monogatari series. After all, this series covers some pretty dark topics, and the character designs we see of the monsters personifies that pretty well. It looks truly otherworldly compared to our cute anime protagonist. I guess the total point I'm trying to get across here is that you should hold off on watching this show, not because it's a bad show, or not because it's animated poorly, but because it's a very good show and it's animated brilliantly. I'm gonna go on record and say this is the best looking show of this year so far, Jujutsu Kaisen included. The amount of people who haven't watched this show is pretty criminal. And it's mostly due to the fact that it's an original show with nothing to back it up. But I'm starting to think that originals are the way of the anime future. Case in point, after Wit Studio finished Attack on Titan, they've been working on original anime. Their first one was Great Pretender, which I heard was pretty good, but there's also another anime that's airing this season that no one's talking about. It's called Vivi, and it has one of the best first episodes of anime I've seen in a very long time. It's probably going to be the anime that holds me over until the last episode of Wonder Egg comes out, and thank God for that. I was starting to eat my own skin over here. My advice to you guys is to hold off on watching Wonder Egg for now and wait just a little bit longer, because I know a lot of people still haven't watched this show yet. When the final episode comes out, make sure you watch this show. Regardless of how the final episode is, all the other episodes before it are amazing, if not a little hard to follow at times. Episode 12 only disappointed me because I thought it was the end of the series. So do yourself a favor and wait for episode 13 before you watch this amazing show. Trust me, I'm saying it for your own good. I'm dying over here. When the last episode comes out, expect 2 videos of this show, one sakuga video and one depressing video where I talk about depression and suicide. So get subscribed, and thanks for listening to me ramble for 6 minutes. And until then, I hope you have a fantastic day. This is Registry, signing off.